Hey guys, Kerry Doyle here today. I'm talking to you about child support. What's the most important thing to know when going into child support court so you don't get completely taken advantage of? How child support's calculated. Most of the people that walk in my office don't really know how to figure out what they owe in child support or if they're or what they're owed. Unfortunately, a lot of these cases, dads are the ones that owe the money, either because they don't know their rights as far as custody goes, or they're just a higher earner. Now, if you do a Google search online for child support laws in Nevada, you might stumble across the old law that's in NRS 125B. And it was recently updated in February of 2020, but I find that the update online is really slow. And so what you really need to be looking for is NAC 425. The main difference, well, there's a lot of differences between the two statutes, but one of the ones that jumps out immediately is how the tiers of child support are calculated. Under the old law, there was different percentages for one child, two children, three children, four children, and so on. And then within that, there were caps based on how much you earn. In the new law, there are no caps, and the way it's done is for your first $6,000 of income for one child is 16%. For the next, $6,001 to $10,000, it's an additional 8%. And then you do the math on your first 6,000 and then the next 4,000, and you add them together, and there's no cap. The really important thing to know about child support is whether or not you have joint physical custody, how that affects your calculation. So when you're looking at it, if one parent, let's say mom in this case, has primary physical custody via court order, then they don't really look at her income. They do the calculation on just your income, and then that's what's owed. Now, if mom makes a ton of money and is a lot better off than you, that's something under the new law that they can look at. But in reality, in my experience, it's often overlooked. That argument's often overlooked. And so if you have joint physical custody, they do the calculation for both incomes, and then they take the higher number or the lower number and subtract it from the higher one, and then you would pay the difference. So that's one reason why joint physical custody is really important from a financial standpoint, is that you get that offset for the other parent's income. One of the other things that the new law does is it allows a lot of stipulations between the parents. You can stipulate to what each other's gross monthly income is. You can stipulate to what child support is, as long as it takes care of the basic needs of the child. So if the child's on welfare, through mom or dad, it takes away a little bit of your ability to negotiate because presumably their basic needs aren't being met, and that's why the state has to step in. But for the most part, the court's going to accept an agreement between the two parties. One of the other things the new child support law looks at is it mandates that you look at daycare costs. In the past, that wasn't really the case. Although it was a factor, it wasn't really mandated to be used as a part of the calculation. So, like I said, it's a really detailed law. One question that always comes up is, do they look at the income before taxes or after? Well, unfortunately, it's before taxes. They look at your gross monthly income, and what constitutes income does include overtime if it's consistent and substantial enough, and you can calculate it. If you get overtime once a month for a couple hours, it's probably not going to go into the calculation. But if you're consistently getting overtime, they look at that. Unemployment benefits, they'll base that as your income for calculation purposes. If you have investment income, if you have disability payments coming in, all those things are factored into your gross monthly income and used for the calculation. I'm sure you have a ton of questions. I'd be happy to discuss them with you. Direct message me, leave questions in the comments, reach out. Thank you.